Have you ever noticed how some people are impossible to read? They don't overshare. They don't explain themselves. And yet, they are never easily manipulated, embarrassed, or controlled. It's not because they are stronger. It's because they understand something most people ignore. Every time you reveal too much about yourself, you lose a small piece of control over how others perceive you. And once perception is gone, influence becomes easy. Not everyone who listens to you is on your side. Some are collecting information, not to help you, but to understand you. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Power is rarely taken by force. It is given away through information, slowly, casually, without noticing. And today, you will learn the first truths that highly strategic people never reveal too easily. We live in an era where oversharing is normal. People announce goals before starting. They expose emotions before processing them. They reveal plans before building them. And they explain themselves, even when nobody asked. But there is a hidden cost to this behavior. The more people know about you, the easier you become to predict. And predictable people are easy to influence. This is not about being fake. It is not about hiding your identity. It is about understanding a simple rule. Not everything inside you deserves to become public information, because once it becomes public, it stops belonging only to you. Throughout history, those who maintained influence were not the loudest. They were the most controlled, the most selective, the most deliberate with their words. Silence was never weakness. It was strategy. First, never reveal your biggest goal too early. One of the biggest mistakes people make is talking about their goals too soon. It feels good. It creates excitement. It gives a sense of identity. But psychologically, something dangerous happens. Your mind begins to experience the goal as partially achieved, just by speaking it. Approval replaces effort, attention replaces discipline, and motivation slowly decreases. Machiavelli observed a similar pattern in power. When people know your intentions too early, they begin reacting to them before they exist. Some will doubt you, some will discourage you, and some will silently hope you fail. Not because they are evil, but because your ambition creates discomfort in them. There is something powerful about silent progress. Working without announcing, building without validation, improving without permission. Because when the result finally appears, it doesn't need explanation. It creates its own authority. Second, never reveal every emotion you feel. Emotions are natural. They are not the problem. The problem is instant expression without reflection. A moment of anger, a moment of insecurity, a moment of frustration. And suddenly, something is said that cannot be undone. Many conflicts don't start because of reality. They start because of emotional reaction. The Stoics understood this deeply. Emotional control is not suppression, it is timing. You don't need to deny what you feel. You need to decide when to express it. Machiavelli also understood that predictable emotional reactions create vulnerability, because once someone knows how you react, they no longer need to understand you. They only need to trigger you. True strength is not silence of emotion. It is control over expression, the ability to pause between feeling and action. That pause is where power exists. Third, never reveal your financial reality too freely. Money changes perception faster than almost anything else. When people know too much about your financial situation, they begin adjusting their behavior around it, sometimes consciously, most times unconsciously. If they think you have more, they may expect more. If they think you have less, they may underestimate you. Either way, your image stops being neutral. Machiavelli understood that perception shapes influence more than reality itself, and money is one of the strongest tools of perception distortion. Financial privacy is not about shame, it is about stability. When fewer people know your situation, fewer people can influence your decisions through it. No pressure, no hidden expectations, no silent comparisons, just clarity. Because once money becomes public knowledge, it stops being just personal information and starts becoming social currency. At this point, something should be clear. The more accessible your inner world becomes, the less control you have over how it is interpreted. And what comes next goes even deeper. Because the most dangerous things people reveal are not facts, they are intentions. And dependencies, fourth, never reveal your next move before it is ready. There is something seductive about talking about the future. You get excited. People become curious. Some even congratulate you before you've done anything. For a brief moment, it feels rewarding, but that reward is often an illusion. Modern psychology suggests that when we publicly announce our intentions, our brain can mistake recognition for progress. The satisfaction of being acknowledged begins replacing the discomfort of actually doing the work. What should have been fuel becomes comfort, and comfort rarely produces greatness. Machiavelli understood another danger. The moment your plans become public, they no longer belong entirely to you. They become exposed to opinions, to expectations, to comparisons. Some people will question your decisions. Others will offer advice you never asked for. Some may even begin competing with you simply because they now know where you're heading. None of this makes your journey easier. Quiet preparation has always been one of the greatest advantages a person can have. While others are busy talking about what they hope to accomplish, disciplined individuals are already building it. They don't confuse movement with announcements. They don't seek permission before acting. They understand that the strongest surprise is undeniable evidence. When the tree finally bears fruit, nobody asks how many times the seed was discussed. They only see the harvest. The same is true in life. Protect your plans while they are fragile. Let them grow in silence. And when the time comes, let reality speak louder than any promise ever could. Because unfinished ambitions attract attention. Finished ambitions command respect. Fifth, never reveal who has the power to hurt you. Every person has emotional connections. Family, friends, mentors, someone whose opinion matters. There is nothing wrong with that. Connection is part of being human. The danger begins when your emotional dependence becomes obvious. The moment someone knows exactly what can shake your confidence, they also discover where your balance is weakest. This does not mean everyone will use that knowledge against you. Most people won't. But influence doesn't always arrive with bad intentions. Sometimes it appears as subtle pressure, a disappointed look, a careless comment, an opinion that suddenly carries more weight than it should. Without realizing it, your decisions begin revolving around avoiding someone else's disapproval instead of pursuing your own convictions. The Stoic philosophers warned about this centuries ago. Freedom does not come from controlling other people. It comes from reducing the number of things outside yourself that control you. Machiavelli saw the same principle through the lens of leadership. A ruler who depended emotionally on praise could be manipulated by flattery. A ruler who feared criticism could be controlled by threats. Both had surrendered something invisible long before they lost anything visible. The same happens today. If your peace depends entirely on someone else's approval, then your peace no longer belongs to you. Real confidence grows differently. It grows when your values become stronger than temporary opinions. When rejection no longer defines your identity. When criticism becomes information instead of a personal attack. The goal is not to stop loving people. The goal is to stop giving anyone complete authority over your emotional state. Because the strongest mind is not the one that never feels pain. It is the one that cannot be permanently redirected by it. Sixth, never reveal every weakness before it has become wisdom. Our culture often celebrates vulnerability, and there is real value in honesty. Sharing struggles can create connection. It can inspire others. It can remind people they are not alone. but timing matters. There is a profound difference between speaking from an open wound and speaking from a healed scar. When the wound is still fresh, your emotions are still deciding what the experience means. Your judgment is incomplete. Your perspective is unstable. You are looking for answers while still standing inside the storm. Machiavelli believed that exposing vulnerability without purpose invited unnecessary risk, not because weakness was shameful, but because unfinished struggles often distort how people see your capabilities. Wisdom is born after reflection, not during confusion. The strongest stories are rarely told while they are still happening. They are told after understanding has replaced chaos. Think about the people you admire most. When they speak about failure, they do not speak as victims, they speak as students. The experience no longer controls them. They control the meaning of the experience. That is the difference. Never confuse emotional urgency with emotional clarity. Sometimes, the greatest act of self-respect is allowing yourself enough silence to understand what life is teaching before explaining it to everyone else. Because once you understand the lesson, no one can use the experience to define you. You have already transformed it into strength. By now, a pattern is beginning to emerge. The things that deserve the greatest protection are often invisible. Your goals, your emotions, your plans, your peace, your deepest struggles. None of them require constant exposure to become real. In fact, they often become stronger in silence. But there is one final lesson Machiavelli understood better than almost anyone else. One mistake so common that millions of people make it every single day without realizing the cost. And once you understand it, you will never look at conversations the same way again. 7th, never reveal everything you know. Knowledge has always been associated with power. But one of the greatest misunderstandings about intelligence is believing that intelligent people constantly prove how much they know. They don't. In fact, the wisest people often leave much unsaid. Machiavelli understood that information gains value through scarcity. The moment you reveal every idea, every strategy, every insight that enters your mind, you lose one of your greatest advantages. Not because knowledge should be hidden, but because timing determines impact. There is a reason experienced negotiators speak less than inexperienced ones. There is a reason respected leaders ask more questions than they answer. There is a reason the most influential people in a room often appear to be listening instead of performing. They understand something simple. The person who speaks continuously learns very little. The person who listens carefully discovers what everyone else is revealing. Every conversation contains invisible information. People reveal their fears, their insecurities, their ambitions, their frustrations, their values. Most don't notice they're doing it, because silence makes people uncomfortable. When there is an empty space in a conversation, many rush to fill it. They explain, they justify, they confess, they reveal, without realizing that every unnecessary sentence gives someone else another piece of the puzzle. Silence, on the other hand, creates curiosity. It encourages observation. It gives you time to think before reacting. It prevents words from escaping that you may later wish you had kept. This doesn't mean becoming cold or mysterious for the sake of appearance. It means speaking with intention, sharing because it serves a purpose, not because the moment feels uncomfortable. There is a profound difference between expressing yourself and exposing yourself. One builds connection, the other creates vulnerability that often provides no benefit at all. The strongest communicators are rarely the loudest. They understand that every word carries weight, and because of that, they choose their words carefully, not out of fear, but out of discipline. Because discipline in speech eventually becomes discipline in thought, and disciplined thinking becomes disciplined action. That is where lasting influence begins. If you look back at everything we've explored, today you'll notice that none of these lessons are really about hiding from the world. They are about protecting what deserves protection. Your biggest goals, your emotional balance, your financial privacy, your future plans, your deepest relationships, your personal struggles, and the knowledge you've earned through experience. None of these become more valuable simply because more people know about them. In many cases, they become weaker. We often believe that being completely transparent makes us authentic, but authenticity does not require unlimited access. Healthy boundaries are not deception. Privacy is not dishonesty. Discretion is not manipulation. They are forms of self-respect. Machiavelli's greatest lesson was never that power comes from controlling others. It was that lasting influence begins with controlling yourself, your words, your impulses, your reactions, your need for approval. Because the person who constantly seeks validation from the outside slowly gives away authority over the inside. But the person who learns to protect their inner world discovers something remarkable. They become calmer, more deliberate, harder to distract, harder to pressure, harder to manipulate. Not because they have become distant, but because they have become grounded. In a world where everyone feels pressured to explain themselves, choosing silence at the right moment becomes a form of wisdom. In a world where everyone wants immediate recognition, quiet consistency becomes a form of strength. And in a world where information travels faster than ever before, knowing what not to reveal becomes just as important as knowing what to say. Because true power has never been about saying more. It has always been about knowing when silence protects what words never could. If this video made you see silence, privacy, and self-control from a different perspective, don't let these ideas end here. Write one word in the comments. Discipline. It's more than a word. It's a commitment to protecting your peace instead of constantly seeking approval. And if you enjoyed this journey into the psychology of power, emotional mastery, and timeless wisdom, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every week, we explore the ideas of Machiavelli, the Stoics, Carl Jung, Nietzsche, Schopenhauer, and modern psychology, not to manipulate others, but to master ourselves. Because in the end, the greatest victory is never controlling another person. It is becoming someone who cannot be easily controlled. Until the next video. Stay silent when silence gives you strength, and let your actions speak louder than your words.